the south and east.
Okay, Dodgy, we want to go to Gage's storm tracker. Oh, look at that. That's still 290. He's headed toward town. Gage, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Frank.
Okay, just describe what you're seeing outside your window there, because what we're seeing, it looks just menacing.
Yeah, we're 290 inbound. We're about 1 mile out from the 610 loop, and traffic here, swinging our camera around from the top, is kind of starting to back up pretty good. Rain has lightened up, but we're kind of driving into what is the thick of it. So we're not really sure what has us stopped here, but it's a good visual because we're stationary to give you the kind of wind conditions. Man, you can see that lightning just firing off. That's looking towards Houston, right? That's looking towards downtown. And it looks like traffic actually here backed up in both directions. So we're heading eastbound. It looks like outbound traffic is also backed up. Something must be going on because actually there's nothing off to our side here as we pull this camera around. There's no traffic on this side, so something must have happened out here.
Probably.
Frank, I don't know, is there any indication of it had to have been a massive accident or some sort of maybe something fell down the road? Because it looks like everybody stopped right there. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Well, I can tell you, I zoomed in on where you are. 219 total strikes of lightning in your area right now. But as I go down 290 towards 610, which is your direction, there's just a lot of heavy rain, Gage, and I think what they're seeing and what they're going into is just this wall of water, and people far ahead of you are like stopping, and they don't quite know what to do. Some of them are probably pulling off the road. Some are slowing down to 10 miles an hour to try to get through it, because I can back this up a little bit and just show you what is going on here. But the Gage is talking about 290 right here, and you've got that coming. He's coming down to get to the 610 loop, so he's right in this region. And then look at what everyone is driving into. That's sort of the back end of all of these showers and thunderstorms, and so they're driving into really the meat of this whole line of storms, and so I think that's what's got.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, I don't know if you guys can take this full back at in the control room. I think there might be either some metal and or power lines stretched across the road here. I have our camera maxed out, and it's a little jumpy because of the wind that we're still seeing here. But are you seeing right in front of these headlights here, it looks like some sort of thin wires possibly that are stretched across the roadway? Because everybody, including the express lanes in the center there, maybe it's possibly a sign structure or high-tension power lines that are actually down on. You can kind of see it in between the two cars there along that that barrier there. It looks like there might be something, and if that's the case, boy, this is trouble, because this is a major artery in and out of the city, 290 approaching the 610 interchange. And right now I can tell you, we can see it from our eyes as I zoom out. We are standstill all directions.
And you are literally 1 mile from 610 to give people an idea of where this is. You may well be right, because remember, we were talking about that area has the biggest threat of tornadic activity, and I said there could very easily be something in the upper atmosphere. And the difference between a funnel cloud and a tornado is a tornado reaches the ground, but you can get a funnel cloud and a big circular motion of wind that could take those power lines down in a heartbeat. So you may well be right. I don't see any street lights on, do you?
No, street lights are out, and actually, now that you say that, hold on, Frank, that's a really good point to point out, because let's look off to our left here. All the businesses, yeah, it looks like there's no power.
No, there's no power. I think you're right. I think there are probably power lines down. I can't imagine them being down on the freeway, because they're all, buried, and they all go up the poles of the street lights. I mean, we don't have lines just around, but I don't know. I mean, there may be something. Because you're right.
Something's definitely have to obstruct the traffic there.
Yeah, it's a dead stop in both directions. So there's something in both directions that has everything stopped. And it's either metal or power lines or something, but...
And this is a good example of, if you see down power lines, you do not know if they are energized or not, and it is never worth the risk to try to get across those, whether driving or not. But as you see, we're zoomed in here, Frank. We're still seeing some wind moving our truck back and forth. That's why the camera's jumping around like that, because we are we're parked. We're stationary. We're not moving at all. But
And I've never seen this before.
Something's across the road.
I've seen a completely stopped lane going one way and rubberneckers slowing down the lane in the other direction. Okay, that's fairly common, but I've never seen both lanes of a major highway at a complete standstill like you're seeing right now. And it's not high water, we know that. So I don't know what it is. You know, how do you have both lanes at a standstill in the exact same place?
Yeah, mind you, this is 4 lanes each way.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same place, right?
There.
And where they're coming toward you is where you're stopped going toward town.
Yep, because you can see the taillights end right there where that box truck is in the middle lane.
Yep, it's the same spot.
Looking to the left, the express lanes are closed, and everybody's just stopped.
And nobody's even trying to get off.
Probably wanting to get to dinner.
Yeah, nobody's even trying to go renegade. And, you know, you see that a lot. I'll just go this way and get off the freeway. Nobody's even trying to do that. So there's something we don't know that they do, that are in the front of the line there. And they're like, well, I'm not moving. And I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
you showed us earlier that all the power's out. So your guess that there's maybe some kind of power line down is a good guess, but...
Do you know what? As I look over here, Frank, the rain is letting up a little bit here. Let me see if I can spin this camera over here. You see those high-tension lines coming from that little...
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is power lines, because that's a high-tension system right there.
And it's
that
down.
high-voltage lines that it's crossing across. And if I can zoom in here, let's see if we can find them to where they fall down or maybe a point of failure. And you can see that lightning still just firing in the background. Here they're up there, but as we come across, maybe it looks like a couple are hanging down, possibly.
I think that's an excellent guess. I mean, until we know, we don't know. But that's a good guess, because what else is going to stop all this? I mean, you're looking at 10 lanes of traffic, if not more, in both directions. You've got all these people at the exact same spot, not going anywhere. I've never seen this before in Houston. And believe me, I've seen a lot of traffic jams, but I've never seen this. And it's not high water. We had heavy rain, but not enough to pond and stop traffic on the freeway. We've seen that before on I-10 where people just couldn't go. But we're not seeing that. And now an emergency vehicle is, I guess, going to come and try to find out what's going on.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, you know, this is a big problem, because now there's nowhere for these emergency vehicles to go. As you can see, what looks like a fire truck back here in the distance. I don't know how they're going to have to play a mad game of traffic to try to get through here.
It's almost like the shoulder, even the shoulders are blocked. Are the shoulders blocked also?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yes, people that are trying to think that they're just going to get around traffic have blocked the shoulders pretty much on all sides. But what is this? It looks like damage or something up in here. I don't know if that's just debris or, Frank, I don't know what that could be.
You know, that could be anything from a plastic bag to a piece of metal. I mean, you just don't know. But if people aren't even taking the HOV, if they're stuck on the HOV lane there, then something's going on.
Yeah.
Because everybody I know will try to take a way out. They'll do their best to find a way out, and nobody's finding one.
Something's flapping in the wind up here too. I don't know if that's related.
It's quite the mystery.
But it definitely, it surely is. And nonetheless, like we said, this is a huge problem for people that are trying to get around, because this is a main artery to get to the 610 loop that's shut down completely. And look, that fire truck's still way back there and all that traffic. Gonna have to fight through all that to try to get up here, but still at an absolute standstill. Some folks that look like they're trying to get off, maybe on the. You can see the loop right there. That's the exit to the loop.
Yeah,
loop.
they're back. We're back on you there. Okay, that's the exit to the loop there. I know our assignments people are efforting to find out exactly what's going on, but I don't think, who do you call? Because I don't think the police know. I don't think the fire people know. I don't. Maybe.
Is it safe for them to get out in these conditions? You know, that's the other big question too, Frank, because we're seeing a lot of lightning out here, and you don't want to put a first responder's life in harm's way to get some traffic moving.
I mean, we might try to call the power company. I mean, if indeed it's a power issue or a power line issue, they might know, but I don't know. But I've just never seen such a stop like this.
In those vehicles.
To have a stop like this in both directions and it not be high water, that's crazy. And it almost speaks to some kind of power line, like you suggested 20 minutes ago when we first started talking about this. That may be, well, what it is. And now it's almost like, here's what's crazy. It's only 5 to 7. It's very likely you'll see the sun come out in the next hour because this whole line's moving away. And you could certainly see some breaks in the sky. And then what, right?
I don't think so.
I guess we'd have a better view.
Yeah, that's just, and look, I'm zooming in on this car here. I don't think it's water because I can see the rain pittering off the concrete.
How many? 632,000 power outages. Is that just in Harris County? From Centerpoint, 632,000 power outages. And it would certainly make sense that I mean, Gage is showing us the power is out up 290. And he also showed us those lines that were drooping. So the idea of power lines being across the freeway, I've never heard of that, but I guess I can't rule it out because I've never seen traffic just stop like that. And that would be enough to do it. Those people that, there may be even power lines on the front of cars and they're like, whoa, I'm not, I can't get out, I can't go anywhere. But that's...
And I think that might be the concern, Frank.
Sure.
I think that's what might have people held up is because in this whole time we've been talking for how long now? Look, this fire truck's still trying to get through traffic. A good lesson here, always move to the right. If everybody tangos to the right, they'll be able to get to where they need to go. But you can see I'm sure this is a painstaking process for our first responders all across Houston tonight, but specifically for these guys and gals here trying to get up here, likely to rescue whoever might have these live power lines on them. You can see, they're so close to getting off this ramp.
And as you said earlier, you never know if those power lines have lost power. They could still be live power lines. So you don't want to take the chance because you just don't know.
And it looks like, I'm almost certain at this point, like I said, we got to wait for confirmation, but I would say with almost utmost certainty that this is power lines and not just your regular power lines. This is going to be the high voltage transmission lines that have come across the street here. And if I'm not mistaken, just by the view on this fire truck, this looks like to be a technical response unit because it doesn't look like a typical fire truck. It looks like it might be one of those 18-wheelers that they use in specific situations like this where they're conducting rescues in different situations where they need specific equipment that might not be outfitted on your run-of-the-mill engine. I'm just trying to get, dealing with these kind of things.
Well, I'm just trying to get my head around how does let's just say it is a power line. How does an entire power line go across the whole of 290? The whole, because it's not draped over 290 where it would just fall on top of 290. It's on the sides. And so what you're suggesting, which may be true, is that the wind was strong enough to dislodge that power line and push it across an entire freeway.
Well, you see that there. You can see, and you can still see that. Look at that debris that's blowing in the wind here.
Yeah, there may have been.
It looks like it's actually on a power line.
There may have been a small tornado, but enough to cause this. Because a tornado would do that. A tornado circular motion could take that wire and spin it onto the freeway. That could happen. Because then you're not talking about something going straight down.
Zoom out. You can kind of see. You can see that there is power lines that go across the freeway there. You see how they kind of go right across.
Okay, I'm wrong.
There?
So some of them do go across.
Which is probably pretty rare, right? Especially in a city like Houston, in our metro area where it's so big and so, you never know what kind of payload you're moving through here. And one thing I saw, I don't know, can I see him again? People getting out of their cars. Oh my gosh, is that a terrible idea? Remember, you got 4 rubber tires under you that will help keep you grounded. But getting out, especially on this wet pavement, if those lines are energized, you don't know how far that electricity can travel. And that could just, that could be tragic.
Deadly. It could be deadly.
Look at this. We got emergency responders out here.
So are those the emergency responders we see walking?
That looks like Houston.
We'll give that a minute. Gage froze up there. Okay, let me know when we get him back. We were at 668,000 power outages. I'm sure that's gone up. There are ground stops and cancellations at Bush and Hobby. You probably know that, but clearly it's a big problem. I'll widen this out just a little bit so we can get our bearings. If there's any good news, it's up to the north around Liberty County and Polk County and Livingston area. All of that has finally moved out of your area, so that's good there. So let's focus on Houston. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. A destructive one, you can see that's until 7:15 now. So there's that, and then the tornado warning, which we've been watching, that is until 7 p.m. in Harris County. And I don't know how much you can see of that, but it is right there, and that goes from the east side now. So this is newly issued. There's Pasadena and Galena Park. So this is right there from right around Channelview and Deer Park and continues to Galveston Bay, basically. There's Baytown, and here's the Bay, and there's LaPorte. So this is right there on the east side. Here's I-10 just to the north there. So that's what we're looking at in that regard. So I'm going to take this out a little bit again. So that's the tornado warning, and it looks like some of this has now been canceled. I think I'm right, Dodgy. Doesn't it look like some of this has been canceled?
Yes,
I think all I've got now is this one severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15. Is that right?
yes, that is correct. So that the tornado warning is done, and then that's the only severe thunderstorm warning that we have in the greater Houston area.
Okay, so we've got some that are outside our purview here a bit, that are out of the Beaumont office, or Lake Charles, I should say. Okay, well, I mean, that's some good news, is that the only warning we have right now is a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15 for the east side, and then it continues into the Bay. I don't have this on here. I'm sure there are mariner warnings, so anybody that's thinking about being on the Bay, get out of there. Don't do that. I'll put this in motion for us the last hour. You can see those storms in 1 hour moving from all the way from Hempstead clear across to downtown and moving quickly, 45 miles an hour to even 50 miles an hour, producing at least upper level circulations. I don't have any reports of tornadoes on the ground, and you saw Gage's report, winds that are strong enough to maybe have dislodged power lines that have put 290 out of business. So if you have any interest in going up or down 290, east or west on 290, it's done. Do not go on 290 until this situation is resolved, because it is backed up in both directions. There's another look at this moving across. I'll take the lightning off, although let's take a quick look. 870 strikes there, but just to show you more or less what we're watching here. Now, some of these stronger storms will continue to move toward Mayfair right now, Gulf Crest, Pecan Park, Harrisburg, Park Place, Manchester, Allendale, 100% chance of hail and a chance for some severe hail. Okay, Gage, you're back. What do you know? Anything new?
Yeah, so we're looking here. If you can kind of see, you see first responders going into what looks like a white pickup truck here towards the center of your screen. They've kind of been going back and forth. These look like lines. You can see them much clearer now that the rain has dissipated a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and say this is pretty certain we got power lines, high voltage power lines down across 290, stretching the whole way across. And I'm probably 95% sure at this point, based on the way they're going vehicle to vehicle, that they may be laying on top of some vehicles, because you can see here again, they are going to vehicles. It's not like they're operating to remove the power lines. Looks like they were going to check on individuals in those vehicles.
And that was your,
we're seeing from where we are.
That was your very, I think, smart assumption 30 minutes ago when all this started. You thought it was power lines.
Yeah. Because, like you said, Frank, this is not something that we see often, right?
I've never seen
this very often anywhere.
I've never seen. I've seen freeways here shut down because of high water. It happens on the Katy Freeway far too frequently, and I've seen it on the Gulf Freeway. I mean, a lot of the freeways have issues with water ponding, but that's not that issue. So I've never seen all the lanes of traffic in both directions shut down, except for what you're suggesting, power lines over the freeway. And it does. You're right. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, look at this white pickup truck here.
Yeah, I do. I see it. Look, just to the left.
It looks like it's tangled up in it.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. You can almost see the black power lines right there to the left of the truck, kind of over just over the cement wall there. That's exactly. It looks like maybe it goes all the way around. And then there may be more power lines. It's hard to see exactly, but it looks like maybe right there along the freeway. And then look how it drapes over the HOV lane. And then we can't see in front of you, but
try to get them in the shot here. This is center point right here, following an HFD vehicle up.
Okay, center point wouldn't be there if it wasn't power lines. Let's face it, right? I mean.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they're responding because it looks like they have an excavator on the back, but they just. Oh, they got all kind of equipment on the back, so they could be. Ooh.
Or they could be, let's go out there with everything and figure this out.
Yeah, because once again, this is a main artery to get to this quadrant of the city that's shut down and still.
I can't even imagine how far the backup goes in both directions.
Here, let's swing the camera around behind us here. It's a good question, Frank. Let's see what we can see.
Oh, yeah.
This 290.
I imagine it goes.
Emergency vehicles just out of the purview of our camera that are trying to respond behind us here. Once again, there's nowhere that anybody can go except just try to get off the shoulder, and there's not even just try to take the exit. That's not even a question anymore because there's no exit to take. You can't get past. It's that exit right there is the only exit that people can get on. Oh, look, even there. It's across the exit lane too. Everybody on the exit lane's all sitting.
Yep.
Because power lines are down in front. And I don't know, Frank, can you see that? Looks like there's some downed trees up there. So there, you can see people interwinding between the downed trees or limbs. So this could be some signs of something tornadic, possibly, just based off of, like you said, the damage that these systems, these power lines, the infrastructure's built to.
If you go back to the right,
a hurricane.
Gage, go back to the right a little bit. Okay, so right there, right there, those are lines that go across the freeway to the left. Just on that left side of your screen. That absolutely looks like lines to me. Now, I'm not there, so I don't know.
Look at everybody serpentining.
I know, everybody tries their best, that's for sure. But from what I saw, and I could be wrong, it looks like most of the lines are above the tree line, but I may be wrong. What I'm suggesting is, did the trees actually down the line? See, they're above the trees. So it's probably something more tornadic that did this. Most part. I would think.
Yeah, there's the tree line right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and now I'm being told we have 800,000 power outages from center point now. So it has only obviously increased, even in the last 15 minutes, from 638,000 to 800,000. So those are only getting worse as this whole line. Yeah. So are those people driving over power lines over there?
I was wondering that too. Let me swing back around. I don't think so. They might be, maybe they're being put through like a little parking lot over here or something like that because.
Maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Whoa. Frank, you seeing this?
Oh my gosh.
That's an entire.
Oh, well, there's the answer right there.
Support column.
There's the answer.
Destroyed.
That's the answer, Gage, right there. I guarantee you that's a tornado. Wow. That was a funnel cloud. It might have been straight line winds. It doesn't really matter, but wind did that. And they build them like that because it's hard for wind to grab onto such a thin metal like that. You know, you think that wind would just go around it. It's round and just wind doesn't like round things. It can't latch onto it. So it's built that way. So that's why I would suggest it was more than just a straight line wind, that it might have been tornadic, but the Weather Service is probably going to make that determination. It is sort of.
I imagine this will be a site of a survey in the coming hours and days.
I would think.
As they try to figure out.
It does look. I can't really tell from here. It looks a little like it fell straight. I mean, that's what they're going to look for. Is it circular? Does it look like it was twisted, or does it look like it was pushed over? What do you think? It looks to me like it was twisted.
I was going to say, if you see something that you want me to zoom in on, let me know and I'll do my best. But looking at the metal here, it does, yeah, because look at this main support beam that you can see here. It kind of looks as it's laying, kind of to the left towards the bottom of the screen there. It looks like almost if it was, it looks like there's some twist in it, but I can't confirm that just because we're so far away. Let me zoom out.
Well, it's hard without a before picture.
I
mean, you need a before picture, and then you can compare it to the after picture and make a better determination. So who's this guy? What's he doing?
That's Houston Police.
Okay, so they're going car to car?
Traffic. I don't know. He probably couldn't get through here. You know, Frank, this might be one of those scenarios where we might see a very rare instance where they turn us around here on the interstate to get this traffic out of here. I could see that happening, but
that would not be a bad idea.
He's taking the Shoe Leather Express up there, and you know, from where we are, I was doing this right before I saw him. I want to zoom out and show you here the sign right above our heads. We are 1 mile to that exit. So whenever we punch in here, sorry, it's a little, moves around a little bit on me. We're about a mile from that almost, okay?
Sure.
So we got a distance to go. So there's,
but look at that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lanes of people backed up. But this, yeah, this took some power to bring it down.
Yeah, well, and we had, as you know, when we were reporting about an hour ago, we were saying that there's circulation there because the red and the green, they were right next to each other, and those green colors were very bright, indicating, if nothing else, very strong 100-mile-an-hour straight line winds, or circulation of tornadic nature, which is certainly possible, and there was a tornado warning because of that. And the Weather Service, they know what they're doing. They don't put a tornado warning out just to put it out. They see something in the radar that indicates to them that's what we could have. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was at least a funnel cloud that reached down, and when it touches something, it's then called a tornado, and it reached down as a tornado and tore that structure up.
And you can see even this the sign here was ripped off. Another indication, this is a Chick-fil-A sign that was ripped off of its post there. I'm kind of scanning around to see if there's any, because at this point the rain has primarily stopped. We're getting a little bit of that wind, but I'm looking for any other indications of damage out here that might be able to help you out, Frank, in terms of what we're dealing with, kind of give you a gravity of the situation. Oh, here's some more. It looks like an entire tree that was a smaller tree that was uprooted out there, right behind that little yellow sign. Let me see if I can pull a focus on it.
Well, you know,
that was a tree
you're seeing it. You showed us the sign, you show us the tree, and then we see that power line structure. I mean, that indicates more of a line of wind than a circulation of wind. Do you follow? So, I mean.
Yes, sir.
I think maybe what we were seeing is like 100-mile-an-hour straight line wind. Now, I've never known that to take down a power structure like that, because we get a lot of those. We get a lot of straight line winds, but it might have just been the actual timing and location, and you know, sometimes it just happens. So it'll be interesting to determine what the
going.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what the Weather Service determines.
Manually.
I mean, you would think that CenterPoint could just cut the power to the lines, and then the first responders could just pull the lines to where they need to be, and everybody could go again, right? I mean, that's like my simpleton solution to this, but obviously it's a lot more complicated than just turning off the power and removing the lines.
Yeah, these are the main service lines that you know, go to the substations that eventually end up at your house. And now, Frank, off to our side here, we have a brigade of Houston police and firefighters, and they are walking alongside the engine there and getting people to somehow, some way, get out of the way, because we got to get these pieces of equipment up there to try to help people. I don't think I've ever seen that before in my life.
Nope.
That never. They have to walk and escort a fire engine up on the side of a freeway. Well,
they probably want to make sure there are no lines in front of them, don't you expect? I mean, if they're seeing some power lines out, you know, they're probably like, there might be more. And the last thing they want to do is drive over that.
And what good would they be if they're not able to? And you can see drivers here starting to get a little restless, and getting out, wanting to take a look at what's going on, because we've been sitting here for the past however many minutes at this point, probably approaching a half an hour and stand still.
Oh, longer than that. We've been talking to you for 45 minutes.
Yeah, so that.
And it started before you got there, didn't it? I remember you were driving right up to it as it sort of all started. So this could have started even a little earlier.
Has moved.
Yeah, those are lines on the freeway. Wow. What a story.
It makes me wonder, Frank, if these are still energized, and that's the concern.
Well,
there could be a good shot. Maybe.
I think whether they are or not is a concern, right? I don't know that they could tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, everyone thinks, oh, well, there's a computer back somewhere in Center Point. They'll just look at it and say, oh, yeah, it's still how. They may not know that way. I don't know how. I don't know if they have to have experts come out with that kind of a line and say, oh, wow, look at that. Go a little to the left. Is that a down power? That's a down power pole, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what feeds into that substation here behind that little complex. That's what feeds into that there.
So there are a lot of power. There are a lot of power lines down right there.
Yeah, so let's look here because you can actually see the part where it comes down from. And I wanted to show this to you, Frank. Look,
you showed us that. You showed us that 30 minutes ago. Remember when it was still dark? We could see that.
Oh yeah. So
look at
that's way at the top of that line. Oh, and look, there's another one that goes down on the backside over here, behind this pillar. I'm assuming right behind this pillar.
And another one. It looks like another one behind that. No, go down to your right. Go to your right. It looks like another one right there.
Yeah.
I think that's straight line winds, only because I think if that was a tornado, it would have done a lot more circular damage, and it looks to me like that's probably going to end up being 100-mile-an-hour straight line winds. But that's my preliminary non-National Weather Service guess, but we'll see. They'll be out there tomorrow, I'm sure, to make a determination.
And Frank, you know, explain it for us. You know, whenever you hear tornado, I think there's that almost a stigma of, oh my gosh, they're incredibly dangerous, which they are. But for a straight line wind, you know, what does that mean? Is that, some people might think, oh, that's not as serious, but no, it can be just as serious, if not more, right? Well,
and we used to call them downburst winds, and that, I think, made more of an impact because they go downward and they burst at the ground in every direction. I mean, I've made this analogy earlier that when you take a hose of water and you point that water at the driveway, and let's say you put your thumb over it to make it go faster, you know how we all use our thumb on the end of the hose to make the water come out faster, then you point that down, so that makes it come out faster, and then you point it to the ground and it just splatters everywhere. And yes, it's very dangerous. What happens is the air at the top of the cloud is already going up. That's what produces the hail. So you have that updraft, and then when it comes down, that air will go through another slice of even colder air, and that colder air accelerates that wind to the ground. And so when you get hailstorms like this, obviously you're going to have cold air up there. And that's the danger, is the wind goes up, and then when it comes down through that extra cold air, and it accelerates toward the ground. And they are very hard to predict. Doppler's done a good job with it if we can get a good, you know, green, bright green. And that's why when I was talking earlier, when you see a flat green against the red, that flat green, when it's really bright green like that, I think it indicates a straight line wind more than a tornado, and that's what we were seeing. Wow, look at that. So, and again, right, that tree is pushed over, another indication of a straight line wind. It's not torn up like a tornado would tear it up. It's been pushed over. So it's probably going to be determined to be straight line winds, but I'm just guessing, and I don't want to say that's absolutely what it is, but it makes sense to me from the radar signature that I saw and and what we're seeing now of the damage. That's what it looks like to me. Let me see if I can go back.
I'll take it back.
As we go to,
that's just incredibly impressive.
Okay, if we can come to me for a minute, I just want to show everybody this real quick. Can you slow it down, Daji? Okay, and go back to where we're looking at the Cypress, Jersey Village area, where it says Cypress and Jersey Village. Okay, this is the velocity. This is what I was, see that bright green that goes by? That bright green, how it's flat like that, and there's a lot of it? That right there, that when you see that, even though you have the red and you look for the red and the green, when you see a big swath of green like that, that's flat like that, that's what usually indicates a straight line wind. And then that's why I've been saying all along this afternoon, you may not get a tornado, but you can certainly get the winds. That's a great example of what I think is going to be determined to be straight line winds, and it's right where Gage is. I mean, this is right there along 290 where this happened. So I think that it was a straight line wind of 100 miles an hour that came through there and knocked down those trees and those signs and those branches and those power lines. That's what I think. Because there you have it. And look at that, 107 mile an hour winds. Gage, I know you can't see us, but 107 mile an hour winds. And there might be
look at this, Frank, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
They're using what looks like some sort of saw to actually cut through the steel wires here. I don't know if you can see this on the screen. Houston Fire might need to take it full in the control room, but you could see them using a saw. You saw sparks fly just a couple seconds ago to cut through the steel cables.
Well, you know, and I'm kind of stupid on this whole subject, but it looks like, yeah, it looks like those lines are really heavy. You don't just cut the power line off and then move them like they're twigs. I mean, there are heavy, heavy lines, and they are, I mean, they're still cables that are wrapped together, right? I mean, I didn't think about that, but yeah, they've got to cut the power, which clearly they've done, I think, or they wouldn't be touching them, and now they've got to move them.
I sure would hope.
But it does look like
impressive. You know,
yeah,
look at that. To bring out equipment that they would use to extricate somebody from a vehicle, right, or an entrapment. They're using that to cut through those giant steel power lines.
Yeah, like the jaws of life.
Pull them out.
Yep.
Yeah, and that almost looks like a saw, maybe. It's hard to tell, but nonetheless, I mean, they're going at it for quite some time just to get through one line. And like you said, Frank, there are several strands of that fell.
But as far as you know, and as far as we know, no one was hurt.
As of now, it doesn't look like that. They had an ambulance respond. I didn't see anybody being put on a stretcher or anything of that nature, which is a good thing. You know, cars are relatively safe. If you're going to be hit with a power line, it's probably a good thing to be in a vehicle, right?
Never seen anything like this.
Yeah, you see a bunch.
This is
Look
remarkable.
at this. Oh my gosh, a porta potty.
Well, you know, that's not a bad idea.
Blown into the middle of the road.
That's not a bad idea. If you've been sitting there for an hour.
But it looks like it was on its side.
Oh, I thought maybe they brought one for people.
And they were pushing it out of the traffic.
Okay, again, a straight line wind issue. I guarantee you this was straight line winds. Enough about that, though. But whatever it was, it was. Oh yeah, but whatever it was bad. That's for sure.
To be able to push, you know, a porta-john onto the freeway, assumedly, from and as we saw, there was evidence of a construction site right over here. So we saw some down fencing. Yeah, there it is. There's the construction site. So if it picked that, I'm not saying it picked it up, but I'm just saying it somehow pushed it, moved it. Otherwise, we're assuming that it came from there, because why else would a portable bathroom be on the interstate? That is impressive.
I did want to mention, Gage, they're back on you and me, but there is a tornado warning in Chambers County. And just to get your bearings here, this is really right around Anahuac. And there's Winnie right there. I can go in a little closer here. There's Anahuac. This is a tornado warning until 7:45. Again, it's indicated, you see the notch right there? It's indicated by radar. No guarantee that it's a tornado, but it is certainly something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because you never know. Again, the velocity here, you've got the green and the red. And so this is much more classic than what I was showing you with that flat, bright green. That's why I think that was straight line winds. This is more the sort of medium green and the red right together there, especially right in this area here. So watch out, Anahuac to Winnie. This is through 7:45, a tornado warning that exists. Daji, there have been no tornadoes reported on the ground with this. I'll have Daji check that, but
yeah, no tornadoes have been reported so far with this tornado warning, but something to note is that this is spinning up quickly because it's close to that coast, and then we also have that wind coming out off that line, so that's kind of helping create that notch there.
Yep,
something
right
to
there.
watch out for, yeah.
And on top of that, a severe thunderstorm warning. So not only the tornado warning, but a severe thunderstorm warning, both until 7:45. I think if I hit that storm tracker is what I call those. And you can see hail, 1.5 inches. This is headed toward Turtle Bayou, Monroe City, Hancomer, Cottonwood, Felicia, Hogpen Crossing, all between now and 7:47. So if you are in this area of Chambers County and even southern Liberty County, watch out as this storm continues to move off to the northeast pretty quickly. If it's going to be in Liberty County by 7:30, then, I mean, you're looking at this really right in your area as we speak over the next 15 minutes. Gage, it looks like there's been some movement where you are. Is that a fire truck in the middle?
Yeah, this is,
and some people are leaving now.
This is westbound frontage road. Westbound frontage road. They cleared that area, so we got movement on the frontage road. However, on actual 290, we now have that big technical rescue vehicle that I was kind of telling you about a little bit earlier. That is now blocking all of the westbound lanes, outbound lanes of 290, as they've been, I mean, let's give a round of applause and a kudos to our first responders, quite literally running across all lanes of the freeway to get these cables, these power lines moved out of the area. Look, you can see them. Look at them hustling over here. This is impressive work.
Those are our heroes.
Teamwork, and maybe, honestly, this is taxpayer dollars of work, and this is what they train to do to be able to handle these kinds of sensitive situations and move. Look at all that wire that they're just tossing and throwing, and
well, and you know people
that's
think
some heavy stuff.
People think firemen just fight fires, but who do you call when you have something like this? You know, obviously, you call those guys, and they are there to help.
And you know, Frank, I'm just looking over here some more. I just can't help. I want to get closer to this. So I'm eager to see what the damage is as you see these cars, you know, driving around these down trees, to just see what all ended up out there, and how much damage there truly was. So I'm eager to see that. It looks like branches more than anything, and people, you know, people will venture through that kind of a course. Oh, this is good news. Oh, here we go. This is 290 westbound. We have cars flowing from what looks like the on-ramp there, but maybe people are sneaking around that big truck. Now, here's the really dangerous thing for these first responders. You know, I know people have been sitting for a while. I just really hope that they you know, slowly get up to cruising speed, if you will. And these are the outbound lanes. So I hope that they're going to slowly get up to speed here, because there are still a lot of people moving around up on all sides of the road here as they work to clear the traffic. But this is a good sign. Hey, we've been going at this for what, 45 minutes plus, and you know, Houston's bravest got the outbound lanes freed up here, so that's a good sign.
Oh, it's an excellent sign.
Up in front here.
And I think your side will probably be moving fairly quickly. It looks like there is some action going on there, so they'll do their best to get that side open too. But even the HOV lane, that looks like it may still have something on it, but it's hard to know.
Yeah,
right,
that center lane looks like
I don't know if that's
cables still there.
Is that a cable still? So, but it looks like it's just a matter of moving this, because clearly the power has been cut off. I mean, they know it's not a dangerous power line, right? I mean, now it's just a matter of moving it.
Correct. And now here's the other question, right? And, you know, the bigger problem for tens of thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people that are fed from this power line. When and how are they going to fix this to get everybody else that is fed off this power line back up and on the grid, right? This is a monumental task.
That's going to be a big problem, because even during Hurricane Ike, when people were without power for 3 weeks, it wasn't because the power lines were down everywhere so much. They had taken the power down and was getting all the grids back online. We didn't see a lot of this during Hurricane Ike. So when you see this, you could be looking at weeks. Hopefully not. I mean, we've come a long way since 2008. So hopefully they have backup plans and backup this and backup that. But we will find out. But you're exactly right, Gage. That's a very good question. Oh, here we go.
This very well could take a little bit of hiking up those towers. We got to make sure it's safe. And it looks like they're letting people get on the loop ramp there. So that's a good sign, and possibly, because look, we got some cars going the wrong way here. We might have had some folks that were a little antsy, trying to get off, maybe?
Yeah, maybe get back to that
line
exit.
vehicles?
Like this guy, well, that looks like
Yeah.
a responder there, but yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know who that guy is. Oh yeah, people are
And we
trying
kind
to.
of got him. This is organized chaos at its finest here.
Well, it looks like it is organized though. It looks like they're letting people do that.
Yeah, they're and this is the danger I was talking about. You see our firefighters out here around where all these people are. But it looks like we got people signaling us through. So, or people up here, I should say, not us in particular. Because once again, let me zoom back out here. I want to put it into perspective. We're in a big traffic jam here.
Yep.
So we got some time to be sitting still, but it looks like the traffic is starting to move, Frank. But you have to wonder how long it will take to make those repairs, right?
Oh, yeah. Especially since it was a cable all the way across. I mean, yeah, because to the left the power was out from where you are, right? North of where you are, the power was out, and south of where you are, the power was out. So it's affected both sides of the freeway.
There's no lights around us.
Oh wow, they really, man, they know how to back up a fire truck, don't they? They took care of that.
That's why they get paid the big bucks. Look at that. That's awesome. I mean, you got to appreciate the work that they do. And now I'm eager to see. Remember that white pickup truck? I wonder if it ended up leaving, or if there was any vehicles that were damaged as a result of this.
Yeah, the white pickup truck that was tangled in the wire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe he was afraid to get out of his truck.
Moving.
Maybe he was just waiting for them, and they said, "No, you're good." And who knows? Maybe he cleared himself, or they cleared him, and off he went. You're looking at that tornado warning on your screen too, till 7:45 in Chambers County. Watch out there. Severe thunderstorm warning, also to the south. It looks like Houston's out of it as far as the big stuff, so that's good. It's the leading edge of this because the winds have been so strong. That's the leading edge that has been so dangerous with the storm. But it is obviously moving out of here, thank goodness. Okay, what's going on there, Gage? It looks like
either this could have been somebody that was.
Why does this guy stop? He needs to move.
Yeah, maybe he's not close enough to be hit with the lines, so maybe hey, they've been sitting here for a while. Could have ran out of gas.
Well, yeah, that's not out of the realm of possibility for sure.
But yeah, traffic is slowly starting to move through here. But kudos to HPD.
It looks like you're one of them that's moving through. So you decided to take the exit?
Yeah, we're going to take the exit, and we're going to get you a better look here, Frank. We're going to go right up next to this big downed electric substation here. Let me throw the wiper on this camera that we can get a clean look. This looks to be some sort of debris over there. Is that insulation to some point? I'm not sure. But let's get you a look here at this. This, Frank, I think you were right with the straight line winds, the theory here.
Well, it's pretty simple. If everything's pushed over in a straight line, then straight line wins.
Because it looks like it was pushed.
Yeah, it does. And so many different spots, A lot of times a tornado, unless it has a path, but it doesn't look to me like there's a path with this. I mean, it's sort of in the same place, but a tornado will take out a large path of damage, whereas straight line winds are a little more random. Okay, what is that? Everybody driving over a line? Those are your lines?
Power lines. So they must have certified that they're de-energized and folks are driving over them.
Well, there you go.
And they just set up some cones there. But I think we're going to hang out here and try to see exactly. There's a lot of debris around here. So I think this is where we're gonna post up for a little bit. We're gonna maybe get our vehicle into position here to try to get into a parking spot and kind of survey the damage here, because I'm interested to see. Look, this is twisted a little bit though, Frank. I'm not sure. Well,
straight
like
lines.
There's a little bit of twist to it.
Straight lines can do that too. I mean, a lot of times straight line winds will take down houses that are being constructed that are just the wood and the frame, and you'll see the straight line wind destroy the house, but yet a lot of the wood is tossed around in what looks like a circular pattern. So I mean, the Weather Service, I'm sure, will make that determination because they know better, you know, what to look at. And now with drones, you can get a much better idea looking from above down to see exactly where the damage is and what kind of damage, and make a better determination than I can just looking at our storm camera here. But hey, look, you know, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I think it's probably, from what I saw on the radar, boy, it sure looked like straight line winds. That bright green is just taking over. That's a strong pattern for straight line winds. So, but you're right. There's a twist. It looks like it has a twist now. Could it have been a little of both? I don't know, but we'll see.
It looks like it fell down, right, in that straight. It fell down straight, but I'm just not sure if the base was twisted. Because looking around, it doesn't look like there's too much damage to buildings elsewhere in the area, which would be more conducive with the tornado, correct?
I would think, yeah. Yeah. And more tree damage probably,
Oh, do you know what, Frank? Take a look at this. This is the first time we're able to look down this way. There's another one that's twisted on the opposite side of the road.
Wow.
We're looking across the interstate here, 290. Another one with.
And it looks like there's one behind it. So this is going to be interesting because.
Look at this.
I know. Well, what's interesting, Gage, is that you're looking from south to north, right? You're looking north right now. And.
Correct, yeah.
And the storm, the line was moving across the county. So it would be rare for a tornado to somehow jump from south to north and do damage on the south side and then jump over the freeway and do damage on the north side, but especially when the line is moving from west to east. You follow my reasoning here?
Yes, sir. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but straight line winds could certainly do that across the area. I do want to mention there's another severe thunderstorm warning. It's right here.